"Step away from the vehicle," she shouted, brandishing her phone like it was a federal warrant. I froze mid-sip, my morning coffee steaming on my porch. The vehicle in question? My pickup, parked squarely in my driveway on my own property. The woman yelling? Marissa Wentworth, self-appointed president, enforcer, and undisputed dictator of our Willow Creek Homeowners Association. What Marissa didn't know was that I'm the Lincoln County Sheriff. When the cops rolled up later, they didn't ask me to move my truck. They asked for my autograph. It all started, as HOA dramas do, with a piece of paper slapped on something that didn't deserve it. This time, it was my windshield, glowing neon yellow and screaming in all caps. Apparently, I'd violated the HOA's vehicle visibility standards. The complaint rambled about oversized, commercial, or militaristic vehicles ruining the neighborhood's aesthetic unity. I nearly choked laughing. My truck, a stock Chevy Silverado, was as civilian as it gets, legally parked, and hadn't budged in 2 days since I was on my first real break in weeks. I scanned for hidden cameras, half expecting a prank. Nope. Just Marissa, storming toward me from 4 houses down, her designer poodles yapping in tiny Willow Creek logo vests. She pointed at my truck like she'd caught a missile launcher in a playground. I gave a polite nod and sipped my coffee. That only made her madder. "You can't park your battalion vehicle out here like this," she declared, waving a clipboard like it could summon fines from thin air. "This is a residential neighborhood, not a police garage." I smiled, gesturing to my driveway. Funny, I could have sworn this was my house. My truck. My land. Marissa squinted, sensing sarcasm, but lacking the wit to counter it. "You're clearly violating HOA regulations," she huffed. "Don't try to lie your way out. We've had multiple complaints." "I'd love to see those," I said, knowing full well no one else cared. Most neighbors loved my truck. It made them feel safe, especially after last summer's burglaries on Maple Lane. But Marissa didn't deal in facts. She dealt in control. New guy in town? Perfect target for her petty empire. "I'll be escalating this," she threatened, scribbling on her pad with such flair I nearly applauded. "Expect a formal citation by day's end." "I'm quaking," I said, grinning. "Marissa, you do what you gotta do." She blinked. "You'll regret crossing me. The authorities will hear about this." That's when I leaned back and said the line I'd savor later. "Please, Marissa. Call the cops." She did. Oh, she did. That evening around 6, I was chopping vegetables when a knock came. Through the window, I saw the patrol cruiser. I opened the door and Deputy Harrington grinned. "Sheriff," he said, tipping his hat. "Got a wild call on our hands." Oh no, I played along. Should I be worried? Apparently, an unidentified man in a suspicious military vehicle is intimidating the neighborhood. We burst out laughing so hard I gripped the doorframe. Marissa stood on the sidewalk, smug as ever until she saw us cackling. Her face twisted like she'd bitten a lemon. Harrington nodded to her. "Ma'am, this truck belongs to Sheriff Elliot Hayes, elected head of Lincoln County Law Enforcement." Marissa's jaw dropped, then clamped shut, then dropped again, like a fish spotting a net. "You're joking," she hissed. "No, ma'am," Harrington said, pulling his own notepad. "But I'll need a report on false reporting of a public official. That's a Class B misdemeanor." She went pale. Harrington turned to me. "Mind signing this?" He held up a newspaper clipping from an award I'd won last year. "My kid's a fan." Marissa watched, stunned, as I signed right there. It could have ended then. Most people would have slunk away after learning they'd picked a fight with the sheriff. Not Marissa. Her ego didn't retreat, it regrouped. By morning, 3 new infractions were taped to my door. One claimed I'd left my trash cans out too long. Another cited suspicious porch lighting. The last? A noise complaint because my electric grill, humming quietly, was a disruptive appliance. This wasn't about the truck anymore. It was war. Marissa had no clue I wouldn't just fight back. I'd bring the law, logic, and a touch of petty revenge to dismantle her reign. Because if there's anything sweeter than being right, it's proving it with a court ruling and a smile. Her absurdity hit new heights by the week's end. She wasn't doubling down, she was waging a crusade to prove I was beneath her precious Willow Creek rules. Each morning brought a new violation notice, duct-taped to my door like a passive-aggressive ransom note. She'd moved beyond the truck, now citing me for nonsense like my backyard grill's smoke, polluting air quality, or my fence's unharmonious color. I hadn't even painted the fence. It was the same oak it had been since the house was built in the 90s. The notices weren't official. She'd printed them herself, signing with the HOA's name and a little eagle stamp I recognized from a welcome basket she'd given me when I moved in. Back then, I thought it was quirky enthusiasm. Now, I saw her HOA as her personal fiefdom, with every homeowner her serf. I could have ignored her, but being a sheriff isn't just about catching crooks, it's about stopping bullies. And Marissa, in her yoga pants and oversized shades, was the queen of them. So I dug in not with handcuffs, but with paperwork. Late nights, I pored over Lincoln County records, property filings, HOA documents, anything on Willow Creek's governance. Jackpot. Marissa's rulebook wasn't just outdated, it was borderline illegal. The HOA board hadn't held a proper election in 4 years, violating its own charter. Meetings weren't public as state law required. There was no proof of fine validity. Worst of all, the HOA's nonprofit status had lapsed, meaning they had no legal right to enforce or collect anything. I chuckled. Marissa was running a paper castle, all bluster, no backbone. The deeper I dug, the more I found she'd targeted others. Disputes over lawn gnomes, unapproved deck chairs, even a kid's lemonade stand shut down for unregulated commerce. It wasn't a quirk, it was a pattern. One afternoon, I visited Mr. Thompson, a retired Marine with a sharp wit and a cane. I'd seen Marissa hassle him over a flagpole she claimed was too tall. He said it honored his buddies who didn't make it back. When I mentioned my HOA research, he was all in. Within hours, I had a quiet alliance of neighbors ready to share their stories. Word spread. Mrs. Carter from down the street had been threatened over her garden statue's unapproved aesthetic. Sanjay, another neighbor, got cited for excessive porch furniture, 3 chairs. We agreed to stay discreet, gathering evidence while letting Marissa think she was winning. Then she went too far. A formal notice arrived, claiming my property violated community harmony and threatening a lien if unresolved within 10 days. I laughed in my kitchen. Liens require real authority, she had none. That's impersonating legal enforcement, a crime. I drafted a cease and desist, citing HOA bylaws she'd ignored and state nonprofit laws she'd broken. I didn't send it yet. I wanted one more misstep. She delivered. That Friday, a private security truck rolled into Willow Creek, not cops, just renegades with Marissa-branded clipboards. I watched from my porch as they installed cameras, one aimed at my driveway, another at Sanjay's porch. No notice, no vote. Then one guard snapped a latch on the community gate while setting up. I got it all on video, time, sound, proof. That night, I rallied my neighbors. We'd let Marissa play Empress long enough. She thought I was just a guy with a truck. She didn't know I had patience, paperwork, and the law on my side. It began with grumbles and eye rolls, the kind neighbors share when Marissa left warnings on cars during a rainstorm. But after her stunts with me, Sanjay, and Mr. Thompson, those whispers turned to rebellion. People were done with her reign, and while she pranced around thinking she owned Willow Creek, her empire was crumbling. Laura, an ER nurse across the street, flipped first. She'd come home exhausted to find Marissa's notes about her porch light being on too long. When Marissa shamed her on the Willow Creek Facebook page, calling her a safety hazard, Laura showed up at my place with her own paper trail. We added it to the pile. I had enough to act, but wanted this to come from the community, not just the sheriff. So we planned a neighborhood cleanup at Cedar Park, a cover for organizing. Residents brought emails, photos, videos. Sanjay showed footage of Marissa measuring his flower pots with a tape measure. People gasped, then laughed. While we plotted, Marissa kept digging her grave. She sent a mass email demanding property photos for harmony checks within 3 days. Neighbors were stunned, some scared, others amused. I reminded them, her HOA had no legal power. The kicker? A teen neighbor, Ethan, overheard Marissa bragging on a call about inventing rules to control undesirables. He recorded it from her bushes, catching her say, "Bylaws don't matter, they'll obey, or I'll fine them silly." I nearly dropped my phone. It was gold. I sent our evidence to the state HOA office. The lapsed registration, fake fines, camera footage, gate damage. They were hooked, especially on the privacy violations and fund misuse. It was only a matter of time. Marissa, oblivious, kept strutting. One day, she parked outside my house, glaring at my truck. I waved. She didn't wave back, just slapped a final notice on my mailbox. Remove the truck in 48 hours or face legal consequences. I almost pitied her. Next morning, I sent my cease and desist via certified mail, witnessed by neighbors. It listed her violations and offered her an out: resign or face investigation for harassment and fraud. She didn't take it well. That night, she banged on doors, demanding signatures to oust disruptive elements, me and my allies. Nobody signed. Most shut their doors. One lady offered her a doctor's number. Marissa left fuming. By the weekend, her notices slowed. Even her poodles seemed deflated. But the real showdown loomed, the HOA meeting she'd called to reassert control. She didn't know we were all coming, with paperwork, law books, and truth. The meeting was at 7 p.m. in the Willow Creek Clubhouse, a beige box livelier than it had been since a pie-throwing contest went south. Every chair was taken. Neighbors swapped stories of Marissa's antics, the wind-chime fine, the chalk-drawing toddler shakedown. The air crackled, not with fear, but with glee. Something big was brewing. Marissa swept in, clutching her binder like a scepter, tapping a pen like a gavel. She looked smug, eyes scanning us like subjects. Without glancing up, she launched into her agenda. Item 1. Enforcing new visual compliance standards. No nods. No claps. Just silence, except me, front row, arms crossed, folder ready. She smirked at me, thinking she had control. I nodded, letting her dig deeper. For 20 minutes, she rambled. Color bans, no unapproved chairs, ornament limits. A few neighbors laughed. She froze, confused, then snapped, "Order, please." I stood, calm as ever. "Madam President, before new business, we need to address legal issues with this board." Her pen stopped. The room hushed. I held up my folder. The HOA's nonprofit status lapsed 2 years ago. Per state law, this board has no authority to fine, approve changes, or collect dues. A gasp from the back. Marissa blinked fast. I flipped pages. The last board election was 4 years ago, past the charter's term limit. This board, you included, is invalid. Murmurs spread. Marissa tried to interrupt, but I raised a hand. She stopped. The room noticed. Plus, I said, we have proof of unauthorized cameras on private property installed with HOA funds, no vote. And contractors damaging community property under your orders. This is outrageous. Marissa snapped. You're not a lawyer. You can't hijack my meeting. I smiled. I'm not a lawyer. I'm the Lincoln County Sheriff. The room exploded, gasps, "Oh wait, what?" Some claps. Marissa froze, face cycling through red, white, and green. Harassment, fake fines, impersonating authority, these are crimes, I said. I didn't want to play that card, but you've left no choice. Laura stood. I second a motion to dissolve this board and hold a new election. Claps thundered. More stood. Marissa shouted, but the noise drowned her. The other board members, her lackeys, slipped out the side door. Cowards, but smart. Order returned. Laura, Sanjay, and others formed an interim committee for a fair election. We set dates, ensured open ballots. Marissa sat, silent, in a corner chair, leaving her binder behind. Outside, neighbors mingled like it was a block party. Relief hung in the air. No more fear of wrong cushions or kids' bikes. It wasn't just a win, it was a reset. Marissa didn't stay quiet long. Days later, she sued, not just me, but the new committee, claiming defamation and wrongful ousting. Her lawyer, a discount ad sketch, filed a mess of a case. Typos, MS Paint arrows, a blurry truck photo labeled menacing presence. I read it over coffee and laughed. I sent it to the county legal team. The judge, Warner, a no-drama guy I'd worked with, set a hearing. Neighbors showed up, some in Free Willow Creek shirts. One badge read Sheriff of Reason. I didn't ask who made it, but I grinned. Marissa arrived in purple, shades on, like a B-movie star. Her lawyer fumbled papers. Warner listened to her 20-minute rant, collusion, mind control, me as a shadow dictator, then leaned back. Ma'am, this isn't a case. It's a tantrum. I could sanction you for bad faith. He turned to me. Sheriff Hayes, countersue? Nah, I said. Her public flop is enough. Dismissed with prejudice, he ruled. Over in 25 minutes. Marissa stormed out, shades still on. Her lawyer bolted. We left lighter, chuckling. A week later, a city pal called. Marissa's HOA fund reports had red flags. An inquiry found she'd used dues for her dog spa flyers, fake vendors, personal gas. The DA got involved, embezzlement, and fraud charges loomed. Her mugshot, sans smirk, hit the Lincoln Gazette. I smiled, just a bit. Willow Creek threw a block party. Not to gloat, okay, maybe a little, but to celebrate freedom. Burgers sizzled, kids biked. Laura belted Sweet Home Alabama on karaoke. Sanjay gave me a thumbs up. Mr. Thompson joked about the poodle's retirement. Ethan said his video was a TikTok hit. You're a meme, Sheriff. I shrugged. I'll live. 2 weeks later, we held elections. I declined nomination. Too much paperwork, I grinned. Laura won, vowing fairness and no tape measures. The new board voided old fines, removed cameras, and fixed the HOA status. Peace settled in, not just quiet, but the kind from beating a bully right. My truck? Still in my driveway, shiny as ever. Neighbors snap pics beside it, calling it a symbol. I tell them, fine, just don't block the mailbox. You never know who's watching. And with that, Willow Creek was ours again, free, united, and gloriously unbothered.